Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. I'm John Carter, and on today's episode, we're here at Otwock Palace. So come and join me as we take a trip around classic Polish culture.
Otwock Grand Palace in Otwock Wielki is otherwise known as the Jezierscy Family Palace or Bielińscy Family Palace. It is a historic residence located on an artificial island in an oxbow lake of the River Vistula in Otwock Wielki. It is the former summer home of the Bielińscy family, old aristocracy from Ciechanów County in Mazovia, who maintained a close relationship with the Saxon court. But the family heirs squandered the family wealth in the 18th century, and the palace became in the end closely associated with the Jezierscy family, following the palace's acquisition by Jacek Jezierski. It remained in the hands of that family until the communist period of 1945-1989. The palace was restored and opened to the public as Interiors Museum or Museum of Design in Otwock, a satellite branch of the Warsaw National Museum.
So let's talk a little bit about Franciszek Bieliński, because he seemed to have, still kind of seems to have a bit of an influence on the surrounding area and Warsaw today. For example, the street Marszałkowska was named after him. What did he do for the city of Warsaw?
Tak, Franciszek Bieliński jest postacią kontrowersyjną. Współcześnie wiemy...
Franciszek Bieliński is a controversial person. We know about him a lot currently. When it comes to his work or activities that he did for Warsaw, it had an amazing impact. Some of the work that he did resulted from his position. He was the great crown hetman. It was his duty to take care of Warsaw and its paving.
Musiał zajmować się porządkowaniem Warszawy i jej brukowaniem, często w przeciwieństwie do innych.
We know that he was doing it with a great passion and dedication, unlike his friends with whom he worked with. We can say that during his term of office between 1742 and 1762, Warsaw was paved. From the streets that were sandy, muddy, and often smelly, it became a quite civilized city. He also made sure that the new buildings had bricked chimneys.
Błotniste i często śmierdzące przez to. Zadbał o to także, aby...
Unfortunately, many cities burned down due to very prosaic reasons. He knew about it. Warsaw was also struggling with large fires. Also in the district, he established himself called Bieliny. He ordered all the buildings there to have brick chimneys. It is true that after his death in the 1970s, the Marszałkowska street was named after him in order to honor him.
Nakazał, aby wszystkie stawiane tam budynki miały już kominy murowane w latach 70.
This is the testimony of his activities in favor of Warsaw. When it comes to the residences in Otwock, it was extended thanks to him. He not only built the outbuildings, which helped the residents function independently, but also he expanded the farm. Apart from the island, there is a wooden bridge that leads to a large area, and that's where the useful and functional buildings were built.
Ale także rozbudował folwark. Poza wyspą jest duży teren, do którego wiódł most drewniany, bezpośrednio z wejścia głównego, przerzucony na drugą stronę.
For instance, a stable, gardener, a brewery, a grain alcohol factory, but also a place for the farmers.
Browar, a także w końcu spirytusownia.
It was a very large building. We know that it ended before his death in 1964 because there was an inscription on the stable.
Na budynku stajni był napis właśnie o tym informujący.
After the sort of Bieliński era, let's say, using this palace as their summer residence, there was a kind of period of wilderness, let's say. How did their ownership end, and why was there was a period of, let's call it, non-ownership?
Po Franciszku Bielińskim, który zmarł bezpotomnie, schedę po nim przejął jeden z jego bratanków, także Franciszek.
After Franciszek Bieliński, who died not having the children, one of his nephews, also named Franciszek, took over his position. He was also an amazing person. They both did a lot not only for Warsaw and its residents, but also for Poland. The nephew Franciszek Bieliński took care of the reform of education.
Franciszek Bieliński, bratanek, a także między innymi
He was a collector and a traveler. He was in Italy, he left a diary from his long journey, but also he brought a collection of ancient sculptures to Otwock. Unfortunately, we know little about it.
kolekcję rzeźb antycznych. Możemy tylko przypuszczać na podstawie innych podobnych zbiorów z tego okresu.
We can only assume, on the basis of other similar collections from this period, that these were just the copies of Roman sculptures and elements of excavation held in Rome and the whole Italy. Before his death, the palace was sold to Władysław Sulimierski. Unfortunately, the goods were indebted and Sulimierski didn't live in the palace.
Władysławowi Sulimierskiemu. Sam Sulimierski nie zamieszkał tutaj i
The palace was uninhabited from the moment of sale, so 1809. It led to the numerous plunders, not only the interior of the palace, because there was nothing there, but it led to the devastation of the palace. One of the first ones happened during the march of the Napoleonic army, which stationed here in the palace before the Battle of Góra Kalwaria.
pierwszych takich dokonała się w czasie przemarszu wojsk napoleońskich przed bitwą pod Ostrówkiem, niedaleko.
This period of 19th century is not yet fully researched. The next owner was Zygmunt Kurs. This figure was also unusual for the region. His children were going to rebuild the palace.
Zygmunt Kurz to postać także niezwykła dla regionu i myślę, że
New roofs were laid. The local people hoped that the palace would be revived again. That didn't happen for personal reasons. Then the palace was handed over from one hand to another. Finally, in 1917, he was handed over to the Jezierscy family as part of the family succession.
Został w ramach sukcesji rodzinnej także przekazany Jezierskim.
How did the palace come into the hands of Jezierscy family?
Władysław Jezierski był siostrzeńcem ostatniego z Kurców.
Władysław Jezierski was the nephew of the last of the Kurz family. On the basis of the will, it became the property of Jezierscy. It's worth mentioning that at that time the palace was no longer habitable.
Przejścia w XIX wieku spowodowały, że nie tylko
It was in a very poor condition. Because of the various events in the 19th century, there was no equipment, no ceilings, no stairway, no doors, no windows here. In fact, the palace was an attention for tourists during the time of development of a nursing home in Otwock.
sanatorium, pobliskiego sanatorium w Otwocku, z którego to czyniono wycieczki. Nie było już mostów.
There was no wooden bridge anymore, so people used little ships or boats to get on the other side. And the Jezierscy family, Władysław and his wife Elizabeth, settled in the manor and expanded the farm. They rebuilt a lot of modernist villas along with the greenhouse.
Zbudowali tam.
They had a vast garden with various cultivations. Many archival photos of this period have been preserved.
Z różnymi uprawami. Z tego okresu zachowało się sporo zdjęć archiwalnych.
Thank you very much for joining us here from Otwock's Palace. We'll be back again same time tomorrow for another episode of Poland Daily Culture.